Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Friday night edition of the late night Moonbat show here on the Global Reality Radio Network. Ow! Fuck! Not cool. I bit my fucking tongue like I'm a fucking stroke victim. God damn. Ow. That's not something you want to do straight out of the gates. Bite your tongue. Ugh. Oh man, that's another thing I should never do too. I should never look at the chat. Should never look at the chat room at the beginning of the show either, because inevitably somebody will say some smart ass comment, or they'll drop a Lars Ulrich micro penis picture, or something. Makes you crack up. No. I mean, yeah, look, it's fine. One of our listeners had sent a $5 donation in the mail, and I was just letting him know, in the chat room that I'd gotten it and everything, because I know that was not cold blooded. You see, that's the problem about chat rooms sometimes, man, is because sometimes you're trying to be witty or funny and be a smart ass, and people just get butthurt, But I don't think he was meaning that is in any sort of negative way. He just Tesla always in the chat room. He always stays in character as Nikola Tesla. So he's always making references. Yes, that's that comes from my technology. So that's where that comes from, because he's always saying, "Oh, well, my technology of this," as if it's really his, as if he's really Nikola Tesla. So Ace McFly said, $5, that was actually worth something back in your day, huh, Tesla? That's greatness. And for those cocksuckers, Westinghouse and Edison came in there and got their dick fingers all over it. Yeah. Bastards. Anyway, thanks for being with us here tonight. We got a gaggle of news to get into tonight, because the browser just crapped out last night and didn't work. It took me forever to get it going tonight, actually. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. The computer's getting old, That's how it goes. But we're going to be getting into all the stuff that we didn't get into last night because of that. And we will also be getting into our continued series of reading for you here tonight. Very strange thing. Last night we read the chapter about the 7 cities of gold and Cibola and Quivira, and I was talking about how it was interesting, because that points in the direction of whoever these builders were, the same people I figured as the mound builders and everything else. And I talked about how John Lindsay's project for the Rockwall dig was entitled the Quivira Project, because some people believe, I guess, that it's one of, the lost 7 cities of gold or whatever. And it's interesting. I don't know if any of you out there are a fan of, like I am. I'm beyond maybe a huge fan of the rock band Rush. They actually have a new album coming out this Tuesday. It's called Clockwork Angels. And it's just a fantastic piece of work, especially if you're a fan of the band. It's kind of one of the albums I've really always wanted them to do. But, so I got this, advanced copy of it or whatever. And when I first listened to it, I was really blown away by this song on there called The Wreckers. And in that song, he says, because if you're not familiar with the band Rush, the drummer, Neil Peart, one of the greatest drummers of all time, and he's also the lyricist of the band. Most people associate the lyric writing with whoever the singer of the band is, but in the case of Rush, the lyric writing. So this is a concept album harkening back to the days of their albums like Hemispheres, Farewell to Kings, 2112, and they give you a little indicator there on the front cover that it's kind of a continuation of that, but the story runs backwards, so that it doesn't run in the order they were made. So I was listening to this song, The Wreckers, and there's a line in there where it says, sometimes you got to be wary of a miracle too good to be true, and sometimes the truth is contrary, and sometimes the target is you. And I heard that, and I was kind of like, wow. It just kind of resonated with me as far as thinking about this TV gig thing that I might be getting, and sometimes you have these thoughts, if is this the real deal, or you can be paranoid like I am as far as the things I've exposed and stuff like that, and you try not to dwell on that and bring the negative energies to light, and always just think about the good, because if you think about the bad, you'll manifest it, and that's oftentimes what they want us to do. But I heard that song, and it just really resonated with me. And then last night for the show, I had gotten the lyric sheet, and I was reading the lyric sheet, and I noticed the song was called 7 Cities of Gold, and it's right before the song The Wreckers, and it's all about, ringing in my head like hallucinations, 7 cities of gold, and like at night, that's all I see at night, and all I have for a while, all I see is, rock wall. It's in my head. So it's a very strange thing, because I've covered here in the past some of the stuff a long time ago. I guess it was back in maybe 2008. I had Freeman on here, and he and I, that's out there. It's on YouTube and on archive.org. You can find that show. But we got into some stuff about Rush, because there was this woman had claimed that Neil Peart had had been working with MK Ultra for years and years and years, and they use his brain to transmit mind control frequencies towards people that they target. And this lady came out with this stuff, and she seemed really kind of kooky to me. She seemed really, anybody would think that she's a kook when you watch it, but what I found was interesting about it is that she seemed to be some of the stuff she was referencing, she would have had to research for years and years and years to come up, and had been planning this hoax for years and years just to come up with the stuff that she was saying in this thing where she was talking about, she said she had corresponded with Neil Peart for years, and she thought they were communicating with her through songs and stuff like this, and there was some shit with the guy who's apparently she claims that the editor-in-chief of the Modern Drummer magazine is his handler, who's involved in the MK Ultra thing. And I was like, well, come on, what the fuck is some guy from Modern Drummer magazine going to be doing? I wouldn't look this guy up, man. It is kind of weird. Neil seems to he seems to be number one on the list anytime Neil does thanks or anything on any of their album covers and stuff. In fact, the new one, there he is. So yeah, there's something weird. There's definitely something was weird about that. But also, I think that when you're putting so much of yourself into something, for instance, like I'm putting into this film and this research into this project, this multiple film project that I'm doing here, and possibly a TV show. When you're putting that much of yourself into something, it permeates into the collective unconscious, and in that pool of the collective unconscious, it's something that we all have access to. And so I think that sometimes things sort of intermingle and overlap, and we pick up things sometimes from places, and other places pick up things from us sometimes without there being any connection or really meeting between people. It's just because consciousness, it seems at a very high level, becomes this very large and eclectic pool that we humans can learn to draw from if we can figure out how to expand our minds in the right way and figure out how to access and permeate those realms and bring things back down here and then manifest them into material reality, be it through expression of, art or painting or music or craftsmanship, or architecture, whatever it may be. And it's sort of a microcosm for what our whole thing here on Earth is, because, all that energy is being channeled into making weapons and channeled into making devices so we can constantly watch each other. I saw the goddamnedest thing I'd ever seen the other night at a gas station. Was leaving a gas station. A truck pulls up beside where I was at. As I'm getting in the car to leave, I can hear these two ladies in this big white truck. And one of the ladies is about to get out, and she says to the ladies about to get out, "Oh, no. Stay inside for a minute. Stay here for a minute. We're going to people watch." And she was like, "What? What are you talking about?" She's like, No, you don't understand. Just sit here for a minute, and we're just going to sit here and watch the stuff that goes down up here. She's like, this is TV. She kept saying that over and over. This is TV. This is TV. No, you have to sit here and watch us. You're not going to believe what you're about to see. This is TV. This is TV. And I was just like, it's really come to that. And that's why we have all these shit show, reality show things that are on television now. Is because they have effectively gotten us to be enthralled and entertained with the everyday mundane of each other. Let's go to the gas. Really, it's come to that. Let's go to the gas station and watch, the idiocy of human. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a good laugh at the idiocy of mankind on a regular basis. I don't have a problem with it. But what I mean is, the people have spoken, and that's what they want. They just want to see random acts of idiocy by their fellow man. And that's better than what they put on TV. And I guess this is why, you've had stuff like Jackass and everything. I don't know what it is. But, man, I lose hope I do. One of the biggest things I ponder, not even kidding you, one of the biggest things I ponder in all this, I don't sit here and ponder over, a lot of the stuff that I cover in my films and on the show and stuff, because that's stuff I'm researching. I can, as long as I stay on it and I dig, I can generally find the answers I'm looking for. But one of the things that I ponder over often is whether or not we're worth saving as a species. I often wonder, man. It's a daily struggle with me, and I mean, sometimes I really see, I can see why, oh man, it's too far gone. People have reached this point of no return, man, this terminal velocity of stupidity that I think that it's too late to turn back from. Not in all cases, but certainly in most of the cases. I really still think that and I've thought this for a long time, and it's another thing I've kind of pondered, but I still think the best possible thing that could happen to this planet would be some kind of revelation, some kind of revealing of information and knowledge that would be so goddamn impossible to swallow. And those of you out there who've been into this stuff as long as I have know that's a regular occurrence for us, isn't it? You constantly have to fucking take in information that's hard to swallow and swallow that shit like a fucking pill and take it down like a big boy and put your big boy pants on and do it. It's just a regular fucking thing for you. Right? So after a while, you just, when new shit happens, you're like, okay, here we go. But for people, the large populace of people out there, if a lot of stuff we've got into on this show for the past 5 years was put out there in a large way, a lot of people wouldn't be able to handle it. Well, that's what I think we need. I think the world needs some kind of revelation that shakes to the fucking core everything everybody in this planet thinks they know about themselves and us and everything here. Because, for one reason, I think you would weed out a significant amount of people. I mean, I'm talking about something big, something huge, something where there would be people jumping off bridges left and fucking right. People would be blowing their fucking brains out, every other fucking turn. I really think that. I think we need some shock fest revelation that people who, because people like us and people like you out there who, are constantly used to already having to reassimilate your worldview all the time because of new information you're getting, you're going to survive. It's not going to shock you, no matter what they tell you. You're going to be like, been telling you that shit for like 5 years, motherfucker. About time you listen to me. But meanwhile, people are going, blowing their brains out everywhere. I really think that's what this planet needs. Honestly, I really think that's what we need. I think we need something that will shock people to the core so much that a lot of people who are weak-minded or locked into these phony belief systems, be it from religion programming or societal programming or anything else. You know what I mean? Like, what would happen if, like, fucking, there was, like, not a hologram, not a hallucination, but, like, a real deal Jesus or a real deal Muhammad shows up? I mean, wouldn't we literally see, like, packs and droves of atheists and scientists and, probably a few homosexuals in there throwing themselves off bridges? Oh, fuck, no, the Christians are right. I'd rather die. Oh, or vice versa. But I think that's what it's going to take. I think, I don't know what that scenario, how that scenario is going to play out. But a part of me thinks that that's might be the plan, But I think that it's almost necessary. I'm against eugenics. I'm against all that stuff. But, I'm also... there's just been so many opportunities, and there's so much... There's no reason in this day and age in this world why you should be an idiot anymore. There's just not. There's no excuse for it. And I think that the majority of ignorance out there is self-imposed ignorance. It's people there. I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, you probably experienced some of this yourself a little bit, where people want to act, they'd rather act dumb or act like they're dumb or just be an idiot than just to be cool, than to be knowledgeable, informed about something. So then people don't, oh, you're gay, man. You're oh god, you know too much about that stuff. It's people are just obsessed with themselves and their egos and whatnot. But I really do. I think we need something that's just going to cut right through the middle, and the people who are locked into the old way of thinking and locked into, programming of all shapes and sizes, boom, they're weeded out. And hey, the people who are able to handle it and go with the flow, they're left to, to live on or something. I don't know. But I thought, I don't know, 10 years or so ago, I started seeing scary things that indicated people were getting dumber, but I can think back to 10 years ago now, and it seems like there were far fewer idiots in the world just 10 years ago. What has happened in 10 years? The idiot population has exploded worldwide. And there's no excuse for it, folks. There's information in droves everywhere to be had. And there have been plenty of opportunities for people to look at alternative information and come out of this funk. But again, we can sit here and blame the New World Order or the Illuminati or stuff all the time. But it comes down to it, folks. Yes, they may be the ones perpetrating this stuff. They're not the only. You can't just blame them for your own ignorance, or blame them for your refusal to get smarter and get more and get knowledgeable about things, and to start learning and reprogramming yourself. And I think people who are, 24, 20, or 25 or older, that's about 25 or older, really. Any younger than that, you're pretty much fucked. Unless you've been awake for a long time and you had some good, people around you when you were younger who knew what was going on and peeped you to it. That's good. But the younger generation, I mean, for 25, 24 or so, down below that, the programming during that time, you could just see it. I mean, you want to talk about the dumbing down of people, there it is. And I definitely think it's harder to pull people of the 25 or younger age group out of the matrix these days, because they're just distracted by everything else. I continue to be blown away by it. And as I talked about earlier in the week, we've been so abused by phonies that now, sometimes now when the real thing is there, or somebody is there to really help us, we don't see it, or we don't help that person because we think they might be, secretly be another one of these phonies. And that's what these operations and these phony people have done for years. But I said it once, I'll say it again. You live in a $1.5 million house and own a glass-bottom boat, I wouldn't say you're necessarily telling the truth. So thanks for being with us here tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Email address is globalrealityshow@gmail.com. We're going to be getting into the news now. Dangerously high radiation levels reported in Indiana. According to RadiationNetwork.com, the United States Radiation Monitoring Network, South Bend, Indiana, experienced extremely high levels of radiation last night, up to 100 times higher than safe levels. Last night, live records for a radiation monitoring station near the border of Indiana and Michigan showed radiation levels as high as 7,139 counts per minute. Whew. At 1:55 a.m. Eastern Time, the radiation level was 2,558 CPM. The level varied between 2,000 and 7,000 CPM for several hours. Normal radiation levels are between 5 and 60 CPM, and any readings above 100 CPM should be considered unusual and trigger an alert, according to information listed on the Radiation Network website. The online Geiger counter monitoring network operated by Black Cat Systems also reported unusually high radiation levels in the same region. And it says this was what it initially said from RadiationNetwork.com. Very high reading in South Bend, Indiana station this evening. Reason unknown. Station unresponsive to contact at this late hour. See, that. Come on. They had a big spike, but then they're unresponsive to contact. Nobody's answering anything over there. Something's going down. Since this same station has triggered the alert system before, which alerts may have been false, and because his current readings do not appear to be corroborated by nearby stations, we have disabled this station for the time being. So they're definitely covering this up. There's another story here about it tonight. Amid a number of reports of massive and bizarre radiation readouts coming from experts, eyewitnesses, radiation facilities, and a key choice news outlet, it has now come out that one of the largest nuclear bases is currently running a nuclear containment exercise. Look, folks, when they run a nuclear containment exercise, how many of these things do you think they've ran since the history of us using nuclear weapons and nuclear power and everything else? Probably thousands, millions, hundreds, who knows, right? Probably a regular occurrence. You would think something like that, you'd want to have safety drills down pat, right? Be very important. If this was a regular occurrence, there would be other reports of this out there, and there isn't. And not only that, since when do they use live radiation in some sort of containment exercise, especially at that level? A little bit more than above what normal is for a containment exercise. Okay, well, we get it. But not at those levels. Somebody's bullshitting. It has now come out that one of the largest nuclear bases is currently running a nuclear containment exercise. The Minot Air Force Base exercise running in North Dakota reportedly involves the use of B-52 aircrafts. Are those the same ones that lost a nuke back in 2007 when they were transporting it across the country, and then everybody connected to that ended up dead? Shit you not, everybody. For the pilot to everybody down the chain wound up dead and, either killed themselves or some crazy fucking thing. I don't know. I can't tell you how many people were killed in that. I covered it here during the show when my show first started in 2007. The news comes after a developing story arose from the potential cover-up of a nuclear situation stemming from near the border of Indiana and Michigan. Sources from near where the elevated levels of radiation were observed say that a Department of Homeland Security hazmat fleet has been dispatched after years of inactivity. The story first erupted after online Geiger counter readings showed an unprecedented radiation spike in the area, with levels reaching as high as 7.139 counts per minute over the average of between 5 and 6. When there has been no official reported case of the spike, there has been quite a lot of foul play regarding the information being put forth by many media outlets, the EPA, and even radiation measurement centers. After the readings shocked viewers, the EPA quickly censored the ability to view the levels online. Thankfully, the readings were captured in a screenshot, which shows the elevated levels far exceeding normal limits. Measurements were recorded by a number of sources, though the growing publicity over the exact cause over the event has caused denial and censorship from not only the EPA but private organizations as well. The Radiation Network originally released an image showing an outburst in radiation levels stemming from that location, but later issued a special message on their homepage stating that the readings were the result of an error. Yeah, I smell a rat. This, of course, is virtually impossible, as the readings were confirmed by two entirely different locations. Black Cat and the Radiation Network both recorded the levels, meaning that the likelihood of both their systems failing at the exact same time and producing the exact same result would be dismal. As the story develops, more information will undoubtedly come out on the subject. It appears that the EPA's incognito takedown of the measurement results indicates that the agency, perhaps along with other government organizations, will vehemently deny that there was any real spike in radiation levels. The failure message issued by the Radiation Network also shows that it is very possible that an organized level of non-disclosure may ultimately be the result until alternative media organizations continue to pry into the situation. So, there you go. Interesting stuff there. I've got quite a bit of news tonight, and I'm going to be blowing through a lot of this stuff really fast. Secret mission accomplished. America's mysterious spaceplane to land after a year in orbit, and nobody knows what it did up there. This is interesting. I just talking about the radiation spike, and then going to this story, which I didn't really intend to do. I just went to whatever the next story was on my browser, but I've covered this many times. The X-37B, this orbiting rod of God, possible gravity bomb thing up there. And what's interesting about that is that the pictures that they released, because it's on it was on a top secret mission. They won't say what it does or anything. But to me, this shows you how retarded they know everybody pretty much is at this point in the game. I'll put the link to the article in the chat room for you. Scroll down there and look at that picture of the X-37B and notice one thing about that picture. The two gentlemen there are in full-blown hazmat suits or anti-radiation suits, and one of them, the one on the right, is holding a yellow box, which is a Geiger counter there. So whatever was on board that thing, it's radioactive. It's got radiation in it. It's probably some big orbital laser or some, floating nuclear weapon or something. The U.S. Air Force highly secret unmanned spaceplane will land in June, ending a year-long mission in orbit. The experimental Boeing X-37B has been circling Earth at 17,000 miles per hour and was due to land in California in December. It is now expected to land in mid to late June. At launch, the spaceplane was accompanied by staff in biohazard suits, leading speculation that there were radioactive components on board. The men and women of Team Vandenberg are ready to execute safe landing operations anytime at a moment's notice. The plane resembles a mini space shuttle and is the second to fly to space. It was meant to land in March, but the mission of the X-37B orbital test vehicle was extended for unknown reasons. The first one landed last December at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California after more than 7 months in orbit. The 29-foot solar-powered craft had an original mission of 270 days. The Air Force said the second mission was to further test the technology, but the ultimate purpose has largely remained a mystery. The vehicle's systems program director, Lieutenant Colonel Tom McIntyre, told the Los Angeles Times in December, "We initially planned for a 9-month mission. Keeping the X-37 in orbit will provide us with additional experimentation opportunities and allow us to extract the maximum value out of the missions." There are rumors circulating that the craft has been kept in space to spy on the new Chinese space station, Tiangong. However, analysts have pointed out that the surveillance will be tricky since the spacecraft would rush past each other at thousands of meters per second. And Brian Whedon from the Secure World Foundation pointed out to the BBC, if the U.S. really wanted to observe Tiangong, it has enough assets to do that without using the X-37B. Multiple tiered effect, multiple uses. They don't do anything unless it's got multiple uses. So you can bet that this thing probably doubles as, it could stay up there forever. That's the thing. So we can, it's probably gathering data, reconnaissance, but also probably has weapons capabilities. I would say if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can see like the front nose cone thing. And to me, it looks like the front nose cone of a bomb. That's why I've speculated for some time. And I think it's some sort of, floating gravity bomb thing. If there was, let's say, we had to launch a strike on somebody and our nuclear weapons were taken out or something, we could have this thing anywhere over the world and, take them out. Interesting stuff there. There will be life on Mars. Mission to create first human colony by 2023, and it will be filmed for a TV reality show. And the people will have to train for 10 years to go there. I'll go. Sign me up. Fuck, I'll go on Mars and be on a reality TV show. That'd be fun. Get off this rock. I ain't gonna be staying long though. First episode of the reality show would be me going, "Oh yeah, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm Josh Reeves. Oh look, I'm not gonna be staying long. No." The Anunnaki's got a mining ship coming over this motherfucker real quick. I'm hitching a ride. Bitch! Peace out! This is not going to end well. I've seen too many movies. But whatever happens, guaranteed the black guy will die first. It's just the way it always is. The black guy will die first. And anybody wearing a red shirt, they're dead too. Mysterious Asian corpse flower parasite actually steals huge chunks of its host DNA. Boy, that's brutal. This thing just does not look good. And they say these things smell like rotting flesh. To me, it looks like a fucking vagina with teeth. So a vagina with teeth flower that smells like rotting flesh. I mean, boy, is that coming as a result of genetic manipulation, or has this been around for a while? Jesus. The corpse flower, a parasitic plant which lives in the jungles of Borneo, does something far more sinister than simply living off of its host. The parasite, which attaches itself to grapevines, actually steals chunks of its host's DNA and cannot live without being inside it. The flower is known as the corpse flower because it emits an odor of rotting flesh. It is found in the jungles of Borneo. The flower is separated from its host by 100 million years of evolution, but shares large chunks of its genome, which appears to have siphoned off in a process similar to one by which plants and animals pass genes to their offspring. The finding has puzzled scientists who say the research could rewrite our thinking on how parasite-host relationships work. So it actually takes DNA from whatever it strikes and stores it inside of it. That's nuts. Scientists are unclear what the purpose of the stealing is. Some plants have replaced their own inherited genes with genes borrowed from the other hosts, but they think it must convey some kind of advantage. Yeah, that is strange. It actually, assimilates and uses other DNA for its own advantage. That's just sounds like that's an intelligent plan almost, doesn't it? Well, more craziness, more, everybody's been talking about this bath salts thing. We talked about that last night, and, I think in some of the cases where the people admitted to it, to getting high on these things, that's probably what it was. But what do you say about a case like this? And I've seen, 50 other cases like this I hadn't even covered, but woman killed and dismembered cheating husband and scattered body parts around city in plastic bags. What about the guy in Canada, the homosexual porn star guy that cut people up and melted? He wasn't huffing bath salts. Neither was this chick. So like I said last night, I think there's something larger going on here, and yoinking people off their meds like that with that fluoride would be a good candidate. A Brazilian woman has admitted to shooting her husband and cutting off his limbs before scattering his body parts in plastic bags. And nope, she wasn't smoking no bath salts. She just playing crazy. Keep an eye on the skies for saucers. Ooh, yeah, you knew that was coming, didn't you? Warns former MOD UFO expert during the Olympic Games. One of the UK's top UFO experts has given his views on the likelihood of aliens suddenly appearing in our skies and how the international community would respond. That's how they respond. That's exactly how they'd respond. Nick Pope, who has more than 2 decades under his belt as at the Ministry of Defense, said mass summer events like the Olympic Games in London would be a prime time for crafts from other worlds to present themselves to mankind. Right. Because they want to wait till we have a big gathering, then they'll show up. Yeah, that's what they do. All these opportunities all the time, all these years. Well, we believe that the aliens have good taste. Well, they chose the Olympic sponsor years ago for the 2012 Olympics, and it's these little fucking alien things. That was like 3 or 4 years ago when they chose that. So now they're saying, there might be UFO showing up for the Olympics. If there are UFOs that show up for the Olympics, probably going to be some blue beam type stuff, I would have to say. Or they could pull, like, what was that movie, Contact, off the Carl Sagan book, Contact? That's probably what they'll do, right? Oh, it's just like in that movie. Carl Sagan was right. The aliens getting the broadcast of Hitler, at the Olympics or whatever. That would show up. Yeah, something smells a rat of this. I smell a rat of this guy, Nick Pope. I have for a long time. I smell a rat of that guy. What's his nuts? God. What's the guy? The Freemason guy who's always talking about UFOs. Ah! There's a giant fucking roach in my room. Jesus Christ. The fuck is my cat? That was just odd. Look down and see something scurry across your foot. Like, Jesus, fuck. Man, the summertime, they fucking start trying to get in your house. I don't know, here in Texas, big ones. Yeah, I think I have no doubt that there are real extraterrestrials out there, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to show up at the Olympics. That's just me. I just wouldn't trust that at all. But they choose to wait until there's, the highest ratings and the best coverage and the most cameras and the most attention to show up because they're cool like that. Oh, it sounds like a ratings ploy, if you ask me. Nobody watches the goddamn Olympics. They're right out there. Get some UFO expert. We're. Let me get in the right accent here. Well, we're having the Olympics in jolly old England this year, and we just can't stand to have the ratings be down, darling. We have to have the ratings up. So we'll just, send out Nick Pope and tell him that there might be UFOs, and then everybody will watch, and we'll have good ratings for the London Olympics, and yay, who cares if no UFO show up? Or we'll just make some show up with holograms, yeah. That's the ticket. Seems that we've had yet another spiral, like we had in Norway a few years ago, shown up. And, of course, the debunkatorium has already showed up to try and shut down that. But here it is yet again. And yet again, they blamed it on the same old failed test launch rocket by the Russian military. Boy, that Russian military just can't seem to get it right with those rockets, can they? I mean, why are we worried about the Russians then? I mean, every time when these spirals show, failed Russian rocket, nothing to see here, swamp gas. Thousands of people in Israel, Turkey, and Jordan got the shock of their lives yesterday as they watched a spinning UFO performing cartwheels in the sky. Police in these countries, as well as in Cyprus and Lebanon, were flooded with phone calls by panicked residents as the white gleaming light danced up high in the atmosphere. Theories abounded over what this could be: a failing missile test, a satellite breaking up in our atmosphere, or a visit from an alien spacecraft. However, the mysterious light does appear to be Earth-based technology, and now the spiral light looking similar to the Russian missile test, which similarly scared people in Norway in 2009 with a light show which seemed more Doctor Who than anything else. So, yes, of course, just as predicted there. Oh, yeah, Russian missile test. That's all it is. Those damn Russians. They sure as fuck can't run a missile. How the moon disrupts sensitive measurements at the Large Hadron Collider, as do fast trains in the waters of Lake Geneva. The moon is known for its ability to impact our tides, but it has been causing another effect over the last few years, disrupting experiments at the Large Hadron Collider. Now, this is interesting to me. Yeah, it may not be very interesting to you yet, but it is very interesting to me. Because I've said for the longest time that I thought that CERN had something to do and had some correlation with the Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark of the Covenant being the power source for this, what they refer to in the ancient Sumerian text as the bond of heaven and earth. And the bond of heaven and earth is a stargate. And the Sumerian texts also talk about the Ark of the Covenant being taken and hidden on the moon. And so I speculated for some time that this Ark of the Covenant thing could have had a tie-in with CERN, especially with him trying to open up these different wormholes and effects. I mean, even the director of CERN says that. It's in my Reality Evolution Norway Spiral video, coincidentally enough, where he says, when you do an experiment, you expect to get results of things that you expect to happen. But then also other effects that you don't expect also happen. And what happened with CERN when they turned it on was that a portal opened up and they found that they could put something through it, or something could come through it from the other side as well. Openly admitted that. So now they're starting to notice that every time they start to fire up CERN, they start getting some strange gravitational anomaly that starts happening with the moon. Come on! That's fucking weird, dude. So that's it. That's very, very fascinating. I'd not heard of this. The gravitational effect of the moon may be generally weak on our surface, But with a collider stretching out in a ring with a 16-mile circumference, the effects are enough to be felt. The scientific research facility on the Swiss-French border is picking apart neutrons and electrons while hunting for the elusive Higgs boson particle. The technician Pauline Gagnon, working on the collider, blogged her surprise when she realized the cause for less particle collisions and that they were happening on her shift. She wrote, "The shift crew, about 10 people plus dozens of experts on call, must keep the detector running smoothly, tackling every problem, big or small, as fast as possible. Data was coming in at a high rate, and all sub-detectors were humming nicely. Not a glitch in hours, so we were getting slightly sleepy near the end of the shift around 10 p.m. So when a colleague from the trigger system, the system that decides which events are worth keeping, called to inquire about recurrent splashes of data, I was rather puzzled. I quickly went around asking a few shifters to check their system. Nobody had a clue. We measure how many collisions are happening per second in each experiment from the two beams of protons circulating in opposite directions in the LHC tunnel. But on the graphs detecting particle interactions, there were regular dips on both of the Hadron's two main measuring systems. Gagnon continued, since both were registering these dips, it had to be coming from a common source. So I called the LHC control room to find out what was happening. "Oh, those dips?" casually answered the operator on shift. "That's because the moon is nearly full and I periodically have to adjust the proton beam orbits." Now, why would you have to readjust proton beam orbits in a facility because of the moon? It's like the force of a magnet, folks. You know what happens when you take the opposite sides of a magnet, try to put them together, and they repel each other? Same thing. The effect has been known since the LEP days, the Large Electron Positron Collider, the LHC predecessor. 20-some years ago, it came as a surprise that given the 27-kilometer circumference of the accelerator, the gravitational force exerted by the moon on one side is not the same as the one felt at the opposite side, creating a small distortion in the tunnel. She added, since the moon effects is very small, only large bodies like oceans feel its effect in the form of tides. But the LHC is such a sensitive apparatus, it can detect the minute deformations created by small differences in the gravitational force across its diameter. The effect is, of course, largest when the moon is full. And that's highly interesting because, with just the moon is just a strange anomaly anyway. Because of its orbit, it orbits us like a satellite, not like a moon normally would, it's like it's an artificial structure. But we also know that there would be no life on Earth without the moon because of the tide and all that stuff. So yeah, that's very fascinating stuff there. Genetic experiment terrifies Chinese city as residents fear mysterious animal is escapee from nearby research center. And this is the same thing we've seen in Texas with these weird fucking chupacabra looking things. These are called chupacabras. They're not chupacabras, but they're some kind of, genetic clone thing. They've got the biggest DNA cloning laboratory in the world at Texas A&M University. With a mohawk-style plume of hair, this thing looks like the fucking professor. Great Scott! With a mohawk-style plume of hair and pink flesh covered in leopard-esque spots, the mysterious animal terrified locals in Xinjiang, Henan province. Xinjiang is close to several scientific research centers and a local medical school, and locals became convinced that the creature was an experiment gone wrong on the run from a nearby lab. One witness said the pink skin makes it look like a pig gone wrong in some sort of genetic experiment. But police say the dog is actually a pedigree breed called a Chinese crested hairless dog and is a pet and expensive. But why did they say that it was a genetic experiment? The article says genetic experiment terrifies Chinese city as residents fear mysterious animals escapee from nearby research center. But then it goes on the article to say, well, no, it's just a breed of dog. That's poor journalism. Boy, this is a crazy story. I'd like to know how the Christians explain this one away. Oh, come on, work. There it is. A 2-year-old boy sat up in his coffin and asked for water before laying back down again lifeless, according to a Brazilian news website. In a case that seems almost too incredible to be true, Orm claimed that Kelvin Santos stopped breathing during treatment for pneumonia at a local hospital in Belém, northern Brazil. He was declared dead at 7:40 p.m. on Friday, and his body was handed over to his family in a plastic bag. The child's devastated family took him home, where grieving relatives held awake throughout the night with the boy's body laid in an open coffin. But an hour before his funeral was due to take place on Saturday, the boy apparently sat up in his coffin and said, "Daddy, can I have some water?" The boy's father, Antonio Santos, said everybody started to scream. We couldn't believe our eyes. Then we thought a miracle had taken place and our boy had come back to life. Then Kelvin just laid back down the way he was. We couldn't wake him. He was dead again. They assured me that he really was dead and gave me no explanation for what we had just seen or heard. The boy's family decided to delay the funeral for an hour and hoped that he would wake up again, but ended up burying him at 5 p.m. that day in the local cemetery. It's strange. But they say that the soul has a tendency to stick around the body for periods of time after death. Sometimes, if if they died before their time or died tragically or something like that. So very well could have been a case of that. That his energy was very strong there, and he just entered back into his body for a minute, and they were able to catch the residual of that. Yeah, it's just mind blowing. So as I've talked about, saying this thing with all these bath salts and these deranged people eating body parts is zombies is a complete misnomer. But that doesn't stop capitalists, and especially weapons manufacturers, who are the biggest capitalists, to be capitalizing on this horse shit. Zombie bullets in high demand following flesh-eating attacks. Talk about zombies in a possible zombie apocalypse has increased due to recent gory accounts of drug-induced flesh-eating attacks in the news. Stores across the U.S., including in Metro Detroit, are getting in on the undead action by selling zombie bullets made by Hornady Manufacturing. In promoting the product on their website, Hornady suggests be prepared. Supply yourself with zombie apocalypse. Hey, that's who I want as a sponsor. Anybody out there, if you can make that happen, I'll give you a cut. That's who we need as a sponsor, just for kicks and giggles. I want the goddamn company that sells zombie bullets to sponsor my show, by God. Get your fucking zombie bullets today at the Global Reality. Jesus Christ. You need to kill a fucking zombie? Well, guess what? We got a deal for you today, folks. You can kill a fucking zombie, and you can help the Global Reality at the same time. How about that? We're going to start selling zombie ammo. Yeah. 12 gauge, 9mm, whatever you need. Oh, man, I would. I'd sell it. Fuck it. Loaded with proven Z-Max bullets. Make dead permanent. So will this ammunition actually defend against the things that go bump in the night? WWJ News Radio 950 Zahara Huber. And the page just refreshed on me in the middle of why I was fucking reading it. Fucking hate that shit. I spoke with the company spokesperson Everett Degger, who said while the bullets are real, they're only meant to be used on targets and not on people or zombies. Not on people or zombies? Paper targets? And why they're not fucking zombie bullets then, you lying sacks of shit? False advertising. Boo! A man who suffered concussions after diving into a shallow pool has made a seemingly improbable discovery. It made him a musical genius. This is just strange. I've heard of this, people having traumatic near-death experiences like this lady, and they say she's speaking fucking fluent Japanese. She hadn't even met a Jap in her life. She's speaking fucking fluent Japanese. Derek Amato from Denver, Colorado is just one of 30 people in the entire world suffering from acquired savant syndrome, where people display profound abilities after suffering head trauma. After 8 years of failed jobs and homelessness, the 40-year-old is now enjoying a career in music and can play 8 instruments, despite the fact he's never had a lesson in his life. That's fucking incredible. He has now recounted the startling moment that he felt drawn to a friend's piano after the October 2006 accident and immediately began playing. It was one of those moments when you just knew. That's just crazy. Yeah. See, I mean, how do you explain that? What's the probability of that happening? That's just crazy, crazy shit. Well, we're going to leave it for there. Leave it there right now for the news. And we're going to take a break, come back, and get into our continued series of reading for you here tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. It's TheGlobalReality.com. Up there we have chip and banners for the network operating costs. We also have them for the film budget we have going up there, emergency film budget. Please help us out if you can. Make a donation. If you said we had a couple people on more claimy claimertons. Don't be a claimy claimerton. No, we had a couple people on Facebook earlier in the week. Oh, yeah, 25 Friday, 100 Friday, and then never materialized. So, just put it out there. Don't be a claimy claimerton. Please help us out if you can. And, come in at the big level. Let's get this shit done. Please help us out if you can. I'm asking you. I'm sitting on a mountain of knowledge over here, a mountain of information. Let's do this. Let's get this out. We're going to take a break, come back, and continue reading for you here tonight. This is The Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Stay with us. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here. Friday night edition of the broadcast for you. We're going to continue in our series of reading from the Lost Worlds of Ancient America. Chapter 16 for you tonight. Stone Fangs of the Great Serpent. So it's going to be getting more into the Serpent Mound stuff, continuing that from last night. So yeah, I'm highly into that. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm really glad I chose this read because I'm probably going to try to find some more in this vein as well. Somebody wanted me to read Cremo's for what is it, Forbidden Archaeology or whatever it is. I can't remember the name of it. Which I might do. I mean, there's some good stuff in there. Definitely ties right into this stuff. All right. TheGlobalReality.com is my website, and we don't have any outside funding or any outside support from anybody or anything. And if you want to be a part of the big things I've got planned, and, I can't get up here and tell you everything, then the way that you do that is to support our work and help us get our stuff done. So, TheGlobalReality.com has many ways you can do that. The chip and banners are there. P.O. Box is there if you absolutely can't use PayPal. If you send a check or something like that, just always make sure you address it to me, Josh Reeves. We also have the Amazon wish list there, stuff you can get if you don't want to make a cash donation, want to get something to help us out. You can pick something off that, and we'll go towards what we're doing. So there you go, TheGlobalReality.com. Stone Fangs of the Great Serpent, Chapter 16. Nestled in a cozy margin between the western cliffs and a special path fit for those with strong legs and good balance is one of the most interesting landmarks in the entire Serpent Mound acreage. What appears to be a megalithic-type standing stone has lay on its side, partially buried beneath the stone serpent head for an untold number of years, perhaps many centuries. It is 9 feet 4 inches long and about 24 inches wide, and deep with some consistency, tapering to a narrow, thin end with what appears to be cut marks in the lower part. The opposite end is a square formed by a large notch out of the right side. A core of what is identified as calcite crystal runs through the center of the stone. Here we go. These same fellows. On a hunch, we tapped softly on one end with a dime, while someone touching his ear to the monolith listened on the other. The result was that the outwardly imperceptible tapping was quite audible throughout the entire length of the stone. There you go. Frequencies yet again. The long rock is tentatively recognized by local geologist and fossil expert Tom Johnson of nearby Locust Grove as a very hard form of greenfield dolomite, limestone in combination with conductive magnesium, apparently differing from the brittle surface rock called Peebles dolomite found atop the isthmus on which the serpent effigy rests. The Peebles dolomite has been subject to millennia of rains percolating through it and has become brittle. This corruption of the surface layer is due to the creation of sulfuric acid through water interaction with minute amounts of iron found in the dolomite's chemical composition. Explaining the presence of large sinkholes and caves right in the park area itself, because this long stone may be identified with harder greenfield variety of dolomite, the stone could possibly have been brought from a distance away. There you go. More evidence of people moving stones and moving rocks and strange chemical makeup. In 1995, the science team of John Burke and Kaj Halberg discovered a high degree of telluric silica-based current activity at the Serpent Mound. Here we go. I was already on to these Amorite guys, knew this. They were tied with the building of the rock wall and knew this Serpent Mound in Ohio tied into it as well. Here we go. Watch. They're gonna prove me right here. I guarantee it. I haven't even read this yet. We'll turn the page. Here we go. The park is well known to have both gravitational and magnetic anomalies. Oh, tell him what he's won, Johnny. We're talking about the Serpent Mound Park here in Ohio. The park is well known to have both gravitational and magnetic anomalies, as hand compasses at the site give unusually incorrect readings. The magnetically charged positive energies are believed to be piezoelectric in origin, due mainly to the highly faulted rock extending. Oh my God! Tell me they're not connected now, folks. That's a fucking coincidence? Oh, that's just coincidence, isn't it? Yeah. Piezoelectrical properties, just like the rock wall. The Serpent Mound has it too. I did not know that. Did not know that before now. Oh, Nelly. Yeah, you just got one of those rare moments. One of those rare, it has happened before, but one of those rare moments where I actually find out some new info live on the air. Holy shit water. Oh, man. That's huge. That's huge for me. That's huge for my work. That's huge for my research. Because nobody else has connected the Serpent Mound or any of these other mounds at all, for that matter, with these megalithic builders, these ancient megalithic builders. Oh, man. I knew it, man. I knew before I even turned the fucking page. I could just tell. I was like, dude, he's on to what I'm already on to. That's unbelievable. The magnetically charged positive energies are believed piezoelectric in origin due mainly to the highly faulted rock extending on an estimated 2 to 2.5 miles beneath the surface. Serpent Mound Park is on the western margins of a 240 million-year-old meteor impact crater more than 3 miles across. It is to the margins, having cliff faces, that much of the generated current finds its way by any evidence. Burke and Halberg described a controlled growth experiment using seeds exposed upon the coils of the Serpent Mound during the overhead passage of a thunderstorm. The results were rather dramatic, as the ionized atmosphere produced an internal change in the seeds that showed a nearly threefold improvement in growth and disease resistance over identical seeds left in their car. That's why the fucking fat cats all live in Rockwall. God damn it. It all makes sense. Oh, man. Another revelation for me here live on air. It all makes sense to me now. I've speculated that it was something to do with that, but to me, that just seals it. That's why Rockwall has been the richest county in Texas forever and ever. Just got recently passed by Westlake. But yeah, I mean, you wouldn't believe the houses that are there, man. But that's why the fat cats and the rich folks live in Rockwall, and why they built the houses right on their prime tree, because they found out that there is, life improvement stuff, disease resistance. The electrical properties of this thing have healing properties. That's why they put all their houses there. And that's why they don't want this fucking thing looked into, because they don't want anybody messing with their, life extension fountain of youth thing that's underneath the city of Rockwall. Well, I'm about to bust their little party open, motherfucker. God damn. Oh, my goodness. It all makes sense to me now. That's why they all live there. That makes total sense. And, Alex Jones is from Rockwall, too, to call that a coincidence. The Serpent Mound Peninsula also attracts an extraordinary number of lightning strikes, and many trees on the hillside surrounding the mound are dead or in a stage of dying from the perceived overload of thunderbolt hits. So the idea of a strategically placed long stone to be used as a gathering point of positive electrical forces from the body of the effigy and the outcropping in general has received much attention. And Pisces Darkstar, who shot the footage of the Serpent Mound for us, got a shot, it'll be in the film, of a sign that, and I mentioned this before, that said, no alcohol, no firearms, no hallucinogenic substances. And I went, you know what? You wouldn't have had to put a fucking sign up that says no hallucinogenic substances if people hadn't been coming there tripping balls for a reason. So I guarantee you that's what it is. That's why they had to put that sign up. Because if you go there and you're on mushrooms or peyote or fucking LSD or something, and you're so sensitive on that stuff, man. You pick vibrations up, across the room, across the fucking universe. You can pick up anything. You're highly sensitive. And, there must be some kind of energy there. I think Pisces said there was some kind of energy there when he went. The gentleman explorer Squire and Davis wrote in 1847 of the oval feature at the head of the Serpent Mound, a small circular elevation of large stones, much burned, once existed in its center, but they have been thrown down and scattered by some ignorant visitor. The point of the hill within this egg-shaped figure rest seems to have been artificially cut to conform to its outline. This 10-foot wide platform becomes a sharp cliff where such large stones could have been thrown. The lower end of the long stone shows what appears to be cut marks, the action of which may explain the narrowing of the stone to a relatively thin, blade-like end about 4 inches or less thick from a 24-inch thick center. The main problem with any effort to identify this stone as being of the same function or purpose as the British menhir or standing stone is a dearth of supporting evidence throughout the Ohio Valley, or for that matter, the entire North American continent. The megalithic period featuring menhirs in the insular Celtic region precedes by at least 300 years the commonly accepted dates for the earliest mound-building society in Ohio, the Adena people. However, the famous Serpent Mound's design may now be reasonably fixed to about 3000 BC by a method of star dating, among other proofs, lending us the tantalizing prospect of this stone having been used as either a celestial marker of some type, a special sort of earth current capacitor, or both. That's the end of chapter 16, short chapter. We'll move on to chapter 17 here. Colossal Earthworks of the Middle West, chapter 17. The world's largest astronomical computer was built in Ohio by an unknown people 2,000 or more years ago. The overall elegance and vast scale of its advanced construction boggle the mind. I see where they're taking this, and I was kind of saving this for the film. but when he said largest astronomical computer, that reminded me of something. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you this, because in case he lets it out here, because this is what I found in my research. The Serpent Mound is, well, I mean, I didn't know it was the world's largest astronomical computer, but that makes a lot of sense. But I'll tell you what I did find out that it is. It's the world's oldest zodiac, and it stretches over multiple states. It's not just in its location, folks. It stretches Indiana, Kentucky, and there are mounds that go around the outside circumference of the Serpent Mound, which is in the center of this zodiac wheel. And there are different mounds in various other locations and states that correspond to animals, and those animals correspond to different zodiac signs. Yeah. And they talked about how this thing was some sort of massive storehouse for knowledge built thousands of years ago, and it's spread out. It's actually predates the zodiac wheel at the Temple of Hathor and Dendera, which I believe predates astrology by thousands of years. So the Serpent Mound actually predates that. And how come we weren't taught that in school? But world's oh my God, world's largest astronomical computer. Yeah, it's a zodiac. It's the world's largest. So if you have any of those mounds in the state where you live, or you are aware of those other mounds that are shaped like animals, there's a spider, one that's shaped like a spider, there's one that's shaped like an ox, there's a whole bunch of them. But they all correspond to the center, and which is this is the one that has the 13th. The center is the serpent, Ophiuchus, the 13th sign, Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus also relates to Quetzalcoatl, and we know that the Serpent Mound was built in tribute to the feathered serpent. Unfucking believable. Unbelievable. And then we have this artifact of Quetzalcoatl just found near the rock wall. Come on, y'all. Come on now. America, Amaruca, the land of the serpent. To explore Ohio's Newark earthworks is to experience one of the grandest miracles of ancient engineering. The entire vast complex of walls, mounds, and apertures is, according to archaeoastronomers, our planet's biggest observatory, in addition to being the greatest earthwork in the world. Its titanic scale and precise celestial alignments are on par with Egypt's Great Pyramid or Britain's Stonehenge. The two sacred centers of Newark enfold more than 200 square acres, including a parallel wall running more than 6 miles wide. Or 6 miles long, rather. The Great Circle, with its 14-foot-high embankment, is 1,200 feet in diameter, but the octagon enclosure to which it is connected is 11 times larger. Archaeologists refer to prehistoric inhabitants of the Newark area as members of the Hopewell culture, but little is known of their actual identity. They allegedly built the octagon and related structures between 200 BC and 400 AD. Thus, a civilized people with advanced knowledge of public works construction on a grand scale flourished in the Ohio Valley when Rome ruled the Mediterranean world. The octagon mound is joined by a corridor to another circular wall, the south end of which features a 170-foot-long mound, 8 feet higher than the embankment and perfectly oriented to the most northerly rising of the moon. The main structure is actually composed of line segments separated by regular measured gaps. Behind each one stands a uniform mound just off-center. The purpose of this peculiar arrangement was to provide accurate fixes for the risings and settings of significant astronomical events. Solar and lunar eclipses, solstices, the position of Venus, the appearance of significant constellations such as the Pleiades, and numerous other sky data, some of which archaeoastronomers are only just beginning to discover. No one, they believe, resided behind the far-flung earthworks, nor supposedly did these impressive ramparts comprise a cemetery or a fort. The vast complex was strictly a ceremonial center, the largest outdoor church on Earth, where tens of thousands of people gathered for all the mass rituals of a religion dedicated to the movement of the heavenly bodies. While the Newark Mounds display many astral alignments, their chief orientation is lunar. They form a gargantuan calendar in which some 16 generations regulated their existence according to the celestial mechanisms perpetually moving about them. They were worshippers not of the Earth's satellite, but of time, of all it brought forth and everything it destroyed. Every living specimen materialized, prospered, declined, expired, and returned in various related forms to the supreme power of time. If this interpretation is correct, then acting as they did in accordance with the cycles of time, the ancient Americans felt they were living in harmony with the will of the gods, as expressed in the observable laws of nature. That same sacred calendar may have originally told them when to come to Ohio, from where, no one knows, and when to leave, because long before arriving in the American Middle West, the people who created the Octagon Colossus some 3,200 years ago already possessed their technology and knowledge of astronomy. Their mysterious evacuation of the site, which involved such great labor to erect, may have occurred also at the behest of their astral clock. Yeah, that's when they went up in the fucking mothership. But Wayne May, ancient American publisher, reveals the weakness of mainstream theories about the Newark earthworks in his book, This Land. He points out that the berms and mounds do not comprise a very clumsy, if not altogether unworkable observatory, but rather represent a highly efficient military installation. Particularly obvious, May believes, is a deep trench surrounding many of the formations, a feature with no astronomical value, but identifiable as a moat protecting the outer defenses of a fort. Conical mounds off-center behind each one of the 8 gaps are apparent redoubts, commonly featured in breastworks throughout history and around the world to allow easy access during peacetime, but serve as crowd control measures against massed assaults by an invading army. Because astronomy became all the rage among archaeologists after Stonehenge's mostly lunar correspondence was rediscovered 40 years ago, they have been seeing heavenly alignments, real, coincidental, or imagined, at every prehistoric site. Oh, bullshit. They are all aligned. You don't just sing it or imagine it. You can fucking go and see for yourself that they line up. This guy's a clown. Although the Newark Mounds unquestionably incorporate at least some celestial information, these orientations may have only been used in originally surveying the outside earthworks. Right. Yeah, they probably gave you a job at the fucking Smithsonian for this, didn't they, cocksucker? In any case, the main thrust of their design is clearly military. I don't agree with that at all. They were religious sites, dude. But not only that, they were on these locations for a certain reason because of the certain energy that they produced. Even so, the ancient center has not survived in its entirety. A major square embankment, many mounds, and large sections of the parallel walls were obliterated during 19th century expansion of the modern town. But the Great Circle and some of its walls are still preserved as part of a state memorial park. The Octagon has likewise been saved from destruction, although under less dignified circumstances, as a public golf course. Both sites are open to the public year-round from 10 a.m. to dusk. The most splendid rituals and military spectacles of the Newark earthworks must have been on the level of theater comparable to the grandeur of the site itself. They involve thousands of people at a time, beginning in one of the enclosures, passing through others via miles of ceremonial double walls, and climaxing in the Great Circle or the Great Octagon. 32 centuries later, the emotional imprint of millions of celebrants and warriors has bequeathed the site a terrific spiritual resonance, a lingering magic that has not been completely subsumed by the banality of a golf course trying to take its place. More than 5 centuries after ancient Newark was abandoned, a truncated pyramid boldly dominated Kentucky's heavily forested region on a strategic rise overlooking the Mississippi and Ohio rivers. At its broad base, a moderately sized village of wood and adobe houses was inhabited by a people skilled in the use of copper and social organization. They buried their dead in family groups, often joining husband, wife, and children in common interment, and orienting their bodies to the southeast, perhaps in alignment with the rising of the morning star, the planet Venus. Right, which also corresponds to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. The prehistoric planners at Wycliffe erected their impressive pyramidal mound of soil and clay in 6 stages, beginning sometime after 900 AD. Throughout the next 400 years, they rose in prosperity and regional influence as a part of the Mississippian culture that spread from Florida to Wisconsin. Then, as suddenly as they had come, they vanished for reasons still sought after by researchers. Again, why do you think they did all these alignments? So they could be at these spots or certain alignments for either some portal to open up or some fucking, Ezekiel's wheel thing comes down with Palladians in it, like in the Nick Cage movie Knowing. I don't know. They are the remains of the people who built the settlement more than 1,000 years ago. Same thing at Moundville, Alabama, where I went. They spent fucking 300 years building these mounds, and as soon as they got them built, everybody disappeared. But the site's leading feature is its well-made mound. It stood proudly among the collection of sturdy houses on a steep sloping ridge that gave the structure the noble facade of a river citadel. Upon its flat top perched a high gabled ceremonial temple of wood and dried grass covered with white lime. From this elevated position, the leaders of Wycliffe society surveyed their abundantly fruitful land for many miles around. The stately temple is gone and the vicinity is somewhat overgrown, but the massive earthen pyramid remains almost as impressive as it must have appeared in its heyday. Immediately behind the large mound sprawled a spacious plaza, where markets, public ceremonies, and sporting events were held. The most popular game, Chunky, was a cross between shuffleboard, bowling, and Scottish hurling. Other mounds, low, elongated structures, once fronted the plaza, but these features disappeared during scientific excavations of the 1930s. Yeah, that's when the Smithsonian went in and robbed everything. Infant burials at Wycliffe are common finds, although they appear to be the results of a relatively high early mortality rate rather than the evidence of ritual sacrifice. Retrieved artifacts stored in the Lifeways building, which occupies the former site of the plaza, including beautifully crafted copper items, particularly fish hooks, decorated pottery with imaginative geometric patterns, and less identifiable ceremonial items. The pyramid is accompanied by another platform mound, which, while not as prodigious, sets off the larger structure in a wonderful perspective. No burials were included in its construction, nor was it aligned to any celestial orientation. Yet researchers how do you know? Maybe it's aligned to something we can't see anymore. That's you. It could very well be aligned to something that's no longer visible to us, because that's how fucking old it is. But see, these people don't even count that possibility in, because they're going by this, official story timeline that we've been choked to death with for eons. There is no indication of war, social upheaval, or epidemic. The orderliness of the excavated graves and apparent family groups suggest a peaceful passage through life. Naturally, the site's sacred center is the pyramid itself, especially its summit. From its flat top, visitors may look west, where the ground slopes dramatically away from their sturdy pyramid and down toward the Mississippi River among vast forests of oak, pine, and cedar. An entirely different archaeological site is met with at Wisconsin's Lizard Mounds. That's another part of the zodiac wheel I'm talking about, yeah. The Lizard Mounds in Wisconsin. Hey, we got Wisconsin listeners. Lizard Mounds, get on it. Come on, let's go. Chips and smokes, let's go. Let's go. The peculiar location is approached by car on roads crossing peaceful Wisconsin farm country and stands out with a discernible boldness, a small lone forest of tall trees among green fields spreading to the horizon. From the parking lot, a marked trail winds through the woods to each of the 31 large effigy mounds, masterfully sculpted from the earth into vibrant images of birds, reptiles, panthers, buffalo, and unidentifiable mythical creatures. There are also elegant linear structures, ritual embankments, and conical pyramids. About 10,000 such effigies once spread over Wisconsin. Only a small handful survive today, and Lizard Mounds is one of the greatest remaining collection in North America. No other group is so well preserved nor so diversified in form, and none exhibit such outstanding examples of prehistoric native art on such a large scale. Wow, I need to go there myself. The figures are expressionistic, though stylized. Nothing about them speaks of the crude, the savage, or the primitive. They are proportional, refined, and graceful, reflecting the ordered minds that conceived, molded, and appreciated them. to say nothing of the skillfully organized system of labor and level of surveying technology responsible for their creation. Who their creators and worshippers were, not even the resident Menominee Indians can tell. The place is, therefore, a prehistoric enigma. All that seems certain is Lizard Mound's abrupt abandonment happened in about 1310 AD. Even the dates of its construction and occupation are doubtful. It would appear, however, to have been a part of the Aslan civilization that flourished about 75 miles to the northwest because identically styled earthworks once surrounded the ancient capital. If so, the structures date to the 12th or 13th century, although their origin could be earlier by 1,000 years. I love how they say that. Well, we think they're from the 12th, 13th century. They could be 1,000 years earlier than that, though. Well, that's pretty fucking vague and broad, don't you think? Nice to leave yourself a little window there just in case, somebody like me comes along and proves you absolutely wrong. A few of the effigies survived as tombs. The deceased were placed in pits beneath the mounds with decorated clay pots, bone harpoons, pipes, copper implements, and religious crystals. The precinct was used exclusively for spiritual purposes. No one ever resided within the sacred area. The settlements were in surrounding villages. The largest effigy of the group is 300 feet long, but the site derives its modern name from a 238-foot-long figure thought to represent a lizard. The figures are not so large that they cannot be identified and discerned at ground level. Seen at higher altitude, however, they assume a startling perspective, implying that they may only be fully appreciated from the sky. Yeah, kind of like the Nazca lines. More than 90% of North America's Earth effigies existed in the Wisconsin area. Exceptions such as Ohio's Great Serpent Mound are cultural anomalies. Large-scale geoglyphs were rare in the ancient world, with the only other groups appearing in Britain in pre-Inca peoples along the Peruvian and Chilean coasts. The very existence of these widely separated effigies invites comparison, and in fact they do share some important points in common. As mentioned, the Lizard Mound collection is best seen from altitude, as are the British and South American versions. The celestial orientation of many of the figures has been established. Lizard Mound's own winter solstice configuration with the Cerne Abbas Giants relationship with the constellation of Hercules outside Dorchester in the south of England, whether these and other parallels suggest cultural coincidence on a grand scale or some forgotten contact in antiquity between the ancient Old World and pre-Columbian America, are points for inquiry. That's the end of Chapter 17. Next time should be, just looking for the title of this. Wow, this should be a good one for next time. Chapter 18, A Templar Tower found in Rhode Island. Well, shit. A Templar Tower found in Rhode Island. I'm going to have to research that as soon as I get done here. I've never even heard of that. Anybody else with me? A Templar Tower found in Rhode Island? Shit. I'm going to get on that. Wow. Well, that was certainly the good pick for the book, don't you think? I think I heard a lot of evidence here tonight. The stuff we got into here tonight, combined with my little 4-minute teaser promo for the new film that's up on YouTube, you can go watch. If you've been on the fence about trying to help me with this project financially, I think that trailer and this show tonight should help you quite along in making your decision. So there you go. Please spread this far and wide and re-listen to it over and over again. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Prometheus comes out this weekend. And, Prometheus also is Enki, right? I just think it's so funny. I told you what that movie is going to be about like years ago on this show. Long before there was ever a script written or anything. I was like, yep, they're going to go look for ancient alien giants that created mankind, and, they're going to find out they were genetic manipulators, and they're who created the aliens that went after Sigourney Weaver. The end. There you go. But, I don't know. It's just hard for me to drag myself to a theater anymore, man, to be honest with you. I get spoiled watching everything in high def at home. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend. Please support our work if you can at TheGlobalReality.com. See you back here on Monday. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. You guys have a great one. Take care.